Hey y'all, it's me, the Julia Bee. Welcome back, or welcome in if you're new. How are you? How you doing today? How's mom? She all right? She okay? Things all good? Copacetic in your life? Great, that's good to hear. Today we are here to talk about my TBR. And before you ask, yes, it is disgustingly large, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So my plan for this is because I've never really liked TBRs, okay? I'm a mood reader. I'm all vibes. They got to be immaculate. I'm all about just seeing where the winds take me, okay? And so I don't really adhere to a TBR. I just kind of collect books, and then when I'm in the mood for a particular color of book, when the moon is at its peak, the temperature is the right outside, I just go and I peruse and I pick something. So my plan is to at least not have a monthly TBR, but I would like to have a TBR goal for the year of books that I need to attempt to read this year in 2025. So I have a smattering of books today of all different genres, all different lengths, all different what have yous. And we're going to go through them and we're going to see by the end of the year if I am going to be proud of myself or absolutely hate myself. So let's get into it. All right, so first up on the list is a series that is very, I was going to say controversial, but maybe it's not. It's a series that has just been around. Okay, it's all over the book of talk, the Instagram reels, and that is Zodiac Academy. I purchased this a while back and I actually did start reading it and I was kind of enjoying myself. I'm not going to lie about it, but then the mood went away. Literally, I was like, okay, I'm done. I don't want this anymore. And then when I was in Half Price Books the other day, I found this edition and I personally love these covers more than these. So I was like, I got to pick this up, but also bonus. Someone has annotated these books. And I'm like, girl. And I have the other one right over here. I got number 2. It was only 1 and 2 that I found. And yeah, someone has annotated these books, y'all. I'm like, girl, who are you? And can we be best friends? Because she didn't leave me. Well, I'm assuming it's a she, excuse me. They didn't leave me any indication of what these tabs mean. So it's probably just vibes. But girl, if you're watching this, did you donate these to a Half Price Books in Cincinnati, Ohio? Hit me up. Let's talk about it. The next book is actually a book that just arrived today that I've been waiting for weeks, and that is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. I probably don't need to tell you what this is about if you've been on the internet for any length of time, but this is the 3rd book in a running series about dragons and their riders, and basically it follows Violet Sorengale and Xaden Riorson and their dragons and how they're bonded together and basically how they are fighting a war and basically also fighting against their own government. It's a good time. I know that this series is also controversial. And when I say controversial, what I mean is it's so divided. Maybe that's what I should say. It's so divided in the community because people either suck this book's dick or they want to yeet it into the sun, okay? And I'm just one of the people that I am in the middle, and it's just very few of us that I feel like are in the middle, where we recognize that Miss Fourth Wing, Miss Iron Flame, and probably Miss Onyx Storm, they are not the most stellarly written pieces of literature, okay? They are pretty mediocre, but you know what? I had a good time. I'm not even gonna lie about it. I had a good time reading Fourth Wing. I did vlog that, vlog to come. I did not vlog Iron Flame, but I did, you know what? I had a good time. I'm not gonna lie about it. But I do recognize that they're not it's like the equivalent of ACOTAR, okay? It's the equivalent of ACOTAR or Crescent City. We know that it's trash, but we're here to read the trash, okay? But also, I got the deluxe limited edition, and I'm not mad about it. It's very stunning. There's actually a map now, so yeah, that is my plan before the end of the year. I might start actually this tonight. That's kind of the goal because I want to do a reading vlog for this. So we'll see. All right, so the next book also arrived today, and it was a present from my husband who got it for me for Christmas, and it just took this long to get here, and that is Aragon by Christopher Paolini. I have never read this, but I did watch the movie when I was younger, and it's one of my favorite movies, and it's so underrated because of course they didn't make any more movies about the series. So I've always wanted to read the books, and he got me the special edition from Crate of this book, and I'm so excited to dive into this. If you don't know what this is about Aragon, obviously, and he finds a blue stone in the woods. And basically what ends up happening is it hatches into a dragon. And I don't know how different the book is from the movie, but he's like this poor little simple farm boy, and he, you know, the dragon hatches, and then she grows up, and then he realizes that she is like bonded to him. They're bonded together, and they go on this adventure to take up the mantle of Dragon Rider and protect the world, basically. I'm not explaining this very well, but like, you get the idea. This is YA versus Onyx Storm, which is adult. But I'm so excited to read this. And if I don't read this by the end of the year, I literally have to like cut all my hair off or something. And the next book that I want to read for 2025 is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. Also, I'm going to give an honorary mention to Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires because I also would like to read that book. This book, though, I picked up at Half Price Books, and it was so funny. This is the last book on the shelf, and it was a signed copy. And I was walking around, and someone was like, oh my God, we had like the same idea. And they were like doing this with their book, but they were like, wait a minute, mine doesn't say that it's a signed copy. And I was like, well, you better like look. And so I don't know if every book was a signed copy or not, but the person that like was holding the book didn't have a signed copy. So that was really interesting. Anyway, all right. And the next book on our list is actually a set of books, which is the King of Sin series by Anna Huang. I have read her Twisted series, and I absolutely, if you saw my best books of the year video, you know that I live for Twisted Hate. So I wanted to give these a shot because they're said to be a bit darker. So we've got King of Wrath, King of Pride, King of Greed, and King of Sloth. And there's also King of Envy, which is coming out, I believe, next month. These also, I think are it's her Twisted series that's slated to be made into a TV series adaptation. And I'm so excited about that. All right, the next book, it comes with a caveat. If you saw my worst books of the year video, you probably can already guess what this is, but that is The Ritual by Chantal Tessier. Bruh. I don't know why, okay? Don't come for me. We listen and we don't judge. I don't know why I want to go back to this series. I find it so fascinating. Is that even the right word? There's something about this book that I'm just not getting, okay? I'm not understanding, and I want to understand. I want to like this book. Listen, if you see this on my worst books of the year again, you will fucking know that it wasn't me and it was actually this. Next up, we have a YA fantasy book. I think it's a fantasy book that I have been wanting to read for a couple months now, and that is Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I don't know what it is about this cover, and like I've heard some people talk about this book, and I want to see what all the fuss is about. So this is following Laya and her family. Basically, she is a slave under this martial empire, and her family like do not challenge the empire. Okay, her brother gets arrested for treason, and she is kind of forced to make a decision. So in exchange for help from the rebels who promised to rescue her brother, she will risk her life as a spy in like this academy. Is it an academy? Yeah, the Empire's greatest military academy. She will risk her life to spy for them to get her brother's freedom. And while she's there, she meets someone, a soldier. And they kind of soon realize that they're like intertwined in some way, like their destinies are intertwined. I don't know what it is, but I kind of am in the mood for a YA romance. I don't think this is a romance necessarily. I think this is more of like a coming of age story, like coming into your power, fighting it back against like the government, you know? But I'm really here for it. And I really want, oh, it does say it by fantasy. Haha. Shows how much I knew about this book. Yeah, so I'm excited to read this. There are several other books that follow this, which is Torch Against the Night, Reaper at the Gates, Sky Beyond the Storm, and I think Heir of something just released. I don't know if that's like a spin-off of this or not, but I really want to pick that up, so I want to start with this. The next book is a little bit of a spooky, dark read, and that is Night's Edge by Liz Karen. Karen. I heard about this book from another YouTuber, and I was enthralled. I was entranced. So this follows, what is her name? Mia. This follows Mia, and it follows this world where there is a virus that makes people undead into vampires. And what ends up happening is that she becomes, because her mom gets like infected or whatever, they have to like go into hiding in this world. Because if they don't go into hiding, they get taken to be experimented on, but like people are never seen again. And so because they don't want that to happen, this girl becomes her mother's like food source. And she's only like in her teens. And I think it starts when like she's a child. And so it follows her as she navigates growing up with this and like not being able to be social, not being able to have friends, like having to basically be attached to her mom at all times while coming into womanhood. And I'm just like, the fuck? And apparently it's sapphic. I'm like, sign me the fuck up. All right, the next book that we have is actually something that I've been wanting to reread for a while. I guess I didn't mention in the beginning of the video, which I should have, that I'm not counting rereads necessarily in my TBR if I've read them within the past year, but this is a book I haven't read since I was 13 years old. And when I hold it up, you're going to be like, girl, you read that at 13 years old? What? And that is Ashram by Sherilyn Kenyon. I absolutely, unequivocally love this author and love this fucking book. This book is one that I have literally thought about nonstop, lives rent-free in my head ever since I read it at 13 years old. This not only colored my sexual awakening as a child, but it also colored my like style of writing as an author. I love Sherilyn Kenyon's work, and I love this series, so I want to go back and read this again to see if it holds up to the hype. And I also want to like actually read the rest of the series. So a little bit of backstory behind this. When I was growing up, we were kind of like, we weren't penniless, I would say, but we definitely were not like super, overflowing with funds. And my mom would always take me to the library because I was such a voracious reader. And so was she, to be honest. And one day, like, I just didn't have anything to read. And I was like chomping at the bit for something to read. I think I had to read something for a book report. I don't remember. But anyway, my mom comes in my room and she's like, here, just read this. And she like throws this at me. And I'm like, what is this? And when I tell you, but I was never the same after this, reading this book. I mean it. This book was probably my first, it had to have been my first. It was my first adult experience. My first experience with really dark themes. And I was just hypnotized. I was hooked to this line and sinker. This is the 16th book in the Dark Hunters series, so I would really recommend starting with number 1 if you want to dive into these. But this follows Acheron and his life, and he's like the leader of the Dark Hunters, but this is actually his story. We've been like following other people as part of the order since like book 1, and he's like in those books, but this actually goes into his backstory. It's like a blast from the past. This book is about Greek gods, and talks about Greece in the old world, and then the series as a whole is modern day, but clearly like the Dark Hunters are immortal, or they age slower. I can't remember, but it's basically about fighting back against like the darkness, like fighting against the daemons, I think they're called. They're basically like blood-sucking demons, and it's about like this order of warriors that have patronage to Artemis, and when they die, they can choose, like Artemis will come to them, like if they get betrayed is what I think it is. If they get betrayed in love or whatever it is, they can choose to come back to life. And if they do, they have like 24 hours to kill whoever betrayed them. And then they get to work for her and ultimately Acheron. So I love this book and I want to reread it. And I'm probably going to vlog it because I just want to see if it's going to live up to 13-year-old me's Hype. All right, the next books are something that I also read when I was probably less than 13 years old. No, I think about 13 years old. And my husband so lovingly repurchased these for me. They're mid-grade books, and I have not read them since I was a little baby child. And that is the Warrior Cat series by Erin Hunter. I don't know if anyone else has read these, but this literally colored just like my entire generation. Okay. So many like of the girlies that I went to school with, they were reading these books, and it was just a good time. It was just a vibe. Okay. So these books are just they're about cats. Okay. And they're about a clan of cats. There's multiple clans. There's like Thunder Clan, Wind Clan, Shadow Clan, and River Clan. And basically it just talks about cats living in the wild and surviving. And like, there's drama that happens fighting against the other clans. There's scarcity. There's like epic battles. There's like some little dibbles of romance. It's just a good fun time. Okay. And so I had originally read all 6 of these, but then, I didn't grab them. The New Prophecy, the like sequel series to this, I never got to read. And there's so many more after that, like so many more sequels to this. So he so loving me bought me the first 2 series of this so I could reread them. So I really I've already read book 1, so I want to go and finish the rest of the series. Yeah, I'm very excited. So if you just want like a little cute mid-grade book about cats, pick these up. You can't go wrong. All right, and the next book is a romance. It's something that I've not really read before, but I'm willing to give a try, and that is Flawless by Elsie Silver. It's a cowboy romance following Rhett Eaton and what is her name? Summer. It's following Rhett Eaton and Summer Hamilton. And basically what this is about is it's just a love story between a bull rider, and I think a lawyer. Is she a lawyer? I can't remember. But one day he is like talking about cow's milk, and one of his sponsors, because bull riders get sponsors, is a dairy farm. And he says that he doesn't like milk and doesn't drink milk. And like his sponsor like pulls out because they're like, well, you're sponsoring us. Like, why the fuck wouldn't you like milk? And so Summer is assigned to him by like his boss, which is her dad, is assigned to him so he won't fuck up anymore and he won't say stupid shit when talking to the press. She's basically his babysitter. And what ends up happening is, I guess, like wacky shenanigans, and they like start a little romance, I'm assuming. So I really want to read this. I've heard that this book is kind of like slow and not as great, but like the next book picks up. So yeah, I want to give this a go. Flawless by Elsie Silver. All right, and we're on to the next book. Now this book has been talked about a lot in the book community, and I have just heard way too much about it. That is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I don't know actually much about this book, to be honest. I actually don't know anything about this book. I just know that it's talked about so much in the book community, and I just want to know what people are talking about. I think this is something about like, what's her name? Saris. She meets death and then opens a portal to other realms. Oh, she opens a portal to the Fae world, and then like, I think she's a mortal, and she opens a portal to the Fae realms and finds out that they're real, and they're in like the middle of a centuries-long conflict. I don't know. I'm just here to like jump on a bandwagon for once, because I'm not normally one that like follows hype trains, but I just want to know what the girlies are talking about. So Quicksilver, Callie Hart. Speaking of hype trains, let's talk about When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. Now, hear me out. We listen, we don't judge. I got this special edition from Fairy Loot for the fuck of it, because have I read this book? No. No, of course I fucking haven't. But look at it. Look at it, okay? The consumerism is real, okay? Don't at me. Look, it's fucking stunning. Like, come on. Come on now. Like, you're joking me. Come on. Do I know what this book is about? It's got a dragon on it. It's about dragons. I don't fucking know what this book is about. Okay, it's pretty. I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and I just want to give it a go. All right, the next book has kind of a funny little backstory to it, so I had to add it to my TBR for the year because I have to read this to justify me spending the money on it. And that is The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. Listen. I was in Barnes & Noble, okay? I was in Barnes & Noble having a good old little gay time. And I had a budget in mind. I was being good. I was like keeping my little monies in my wallet. I was like perusing with a friend. I was being good, okay? And my husband texted me and said, hey, while you're at Barnes & Noble, see if they have this book that I'm wanting. And I'm like, okay, sure. What is it? And he tells me what the name of the book is. So I ordered this book and I'm like, oh my God, it's in stock. Like, I'll grab it, I'll bring it home, and he'll love me for it. Like, I was able to get it while I was there. Like, I ordered it on my little phone because I didn't feel like wandering around the store to find it. I ordered it on my little phone. I get to the checkout. I check out my little books. And I realized that they're like, oh, okay, here's the book that you ordered. And they like scan it. And literally this book put me $12 over my budget. Only 12. And I was like, oh my God. I'm so nice that I went over budget for my husband. Like, because he asked me to pick up this book for him. I'm just so nice, right? Okay. So I go home. And I'm like joking with him. I'm like, haha, I went like over budget for you. But like, here's your book. Well, don't you like love me? I found it. And he literally is like, Julia, this isn't the book I wanted. And I was like, what do you mean it's not the book you wanted? This is the book. You literally sent me this book while I'm in the store. And he was like, sweetheart, I asked you to pick me up The Luminous Dead. And I was like, oh, what? Literally, I went back in my phone because I always have to be right. Okay. My ego knows no bounds. I went back in my phone. And do you know that that man actually told me to pick up The Luminous Dead, and I fucking picked up The Luminaries for some reason. So now I have to read this fucking book because I went over budget for this man to tell me that I ordered the wrong book. No one is more upset than me. Do I even know what this book is about? No. No, I don't. I don't know shit about it because I didn't want it. I didn't need it. But I'm gonna fucking read it. And before moving on to the rest of the physical books, because we're in the home stretch here, before moving on to that, I have 3 honorary mentions that I do not own physically, but that I either want to own physically or just want to read digitally. And the first one is Magnolia Parks. I want to read that so badly because I have heard that it is toxic as fuck. And you're probably like, Julia, you hate toxic shit. I know. But lately, I kind of have been wanting to read like toxic love stories, because if I go into a book knowing that it's toxic, and then if I go into it knowing it's not romantic and that I shouldn't be rooting for these characters, I'm more apt to read it and more apt to like it than if I went into it expecting them to like be soulmates and they're just not. So there's that. The next book is Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. And like, does it even need to be said why I want to read this book? I will read everything Carissa Broadbent likes. I don't know necessarily what the book is about, but I know that there are several books in the series, and it's like a fantasy read, and I'm like, have to do it. And then the last book, honorary mention, is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. Listen, we're not going to let Never lie. We're not going to let her color my view, my opinion of her as an author, okay? But I do want to read The Housemaid because I've been told reliably that it's like Verity. And I am here for that. I have been like dying for a book like Verity, which is why I read Layla by Colleen Hoover, because I thought it would have the same vibes. And then I learned that it did not have the same vibes, hence it being on my worst books of the year. So I 1000% am here for anything that can give me that Verity vibe back. All right, the next book is a book I also found on Half Price Books the other day that is a flash to the past of my childhood, and that is Children of the Man by Elizabeth C. Mock. Here's the thing. This book, it's like almost like a fever dream, okay? You know that it exists, but you're also not sure that it exists because you can't ever find anyone talking about it. So this book I read when I was in middle school, and like there was a second book called Render. And every time I try to find this book, like the search engines just shit out on me. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I found this book and it's like in perfect condition. Like no one ever read this. Do I remember what this is about? No, I don't. But I saw this and had to have it because I remember loving this book and I remember it being so interesting. So I need to read this and then try to find the second book. I have no idea if she's continued writing. I don't think she has. I think I looked her up a few years ago because again, fever dream. And I couldn't find anything about like this author, or I saw like one update that said that she was like taking a break, but then expected to be like publishing the book in like the next year or two. That was like 5 years ago. So anyway, I want to read this book and I want to read the second one. Am I about to like ruin my own life by reading a book series that's potentially unfinished? Yeah. But come on, the memories, the nostalgia. I need whatever serotonin I can get these days. Okay. All right. The next book is kind of following my little dragon era that I feel like I'm about to go into with reading Onyx Storm. It's a new release, which is A Language of Dragons by S.F. Williamson. This book sounds really interesting. It's very small. It's short. So I don't know if this is supposed to be a series or just a standalone, but we are following, Vivian in London, 1923. I'm also in my like Regency historical. I'm just in like old London vibes era. Okay. And we're following Vivian Featherswallow. And she's trying to get a summer internship to study the language of dragons. Get it? She wants to make sure that her sister never has to grow up in the 3rd class. So she has to free a dragon. And by midnight, this girl starts a fucking civil war. And what? So then her parents and her sister are arrested, and then she has to work for the government as a code breaker to free them. And she needs to still discover the secrets of the hidden dragon language to stop it. I'm intrigued. This book sounds like what Fourth Wing tried to be. And that's coming from someone who didn't hate Fourth Wing, but I'm just saying, this sounds like what Fourth Wing was supposed to be at half the page length. So, there you go. All right, and the last book on my list for my TBR of 2025 is House on the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I have never read this or any TJ Klune book. I also have his book Wolfsong and Under the Whispering Door that I want to read, but I just never have. This is about Linus Baker, who is in the Department of Change and Magical Youth, and he's given an assignment to go to an orphanage and determine whether 6 magical children are dangerous, because I think magic is like forbidden in this world. Like he has to go to figure out if they're going to bring about the apocalypse, and it just sounds like a cute little read. So I wanted to give it a shot because I don't really have a lot of cozy books. I read Legends and Lattes last year, absolutely loved it. So I'm just kind of wanting a book with like more cozy vibes. Although this does sound like it's got the cozy, but it also has an underlying deep message. So I'm here for that. I can fuck with that. All right, so that is it. That's my TBR for 2025. It seems like a lot because it is a lot, but that doesn't even scratch the surface of what is unread on my shelves. Okay, those are just the books that I feel called to read this year. Listen, when I tell you that when I came back into the reading sphere, I said this before, I was like 10 years away. Like after high school, I just didn't read anything, and it's been that way for 10 years. I just didn't know what to read. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know what authors I would jive with. I didn't know what themes I would, want to read about. So I just picked up everything I could find. I'm basically like a dragon hoarding my treasures and then not doing anything with them. So I have so many unread books on my shelves because I pick them up and like the covers are pretty, or I've heard things about them from other booktubers and I'm like, yeah, I want that. And then I never read it. So my goal is to read more because I only read 70 books last year. My goal is to read more, but also to buy less. We'll see if that works. But yeah, that is my TBR for this year. We will come back to this in the beginning of 2026 to see if I accomplished this goal or if I failed miserably. Okay, so if you are looking forward to that, tune in. But thank you so much for being here. If you got this far, I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. If you have any book recommendations that you want to see me read or vlog or whatever, please leave them down below. I am always taking suggestions when the mood strikes me. And yeah, if you want to see more videos from me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm here all week, baby. Thanks so much for watching, loves. I'll see you later. Bye.